Hello and welcome to Nithrania YouTube channel. You're watching another episode of the Game in a Nutshell series designed for explaining the board game rules. My name is Branislav Berec, and in this video we're going to learn how to play a new game from Rio Grande Games called Space Station Phoenix. First, prepare this diplomacy board, neutral ships board and the home planets board. Place a number of humans based on the number of players in the game in this area of this home planets board. In a 3 players game it would be 20. Then place all these alien tokens in the bag, and again, based on the number of players in the game, draw the corresponding number of these alien tokens and sort them into their home planets. Then set up the display of these station sectors. First, sort them all by their color and then by their size. Then shuffle each stack separately, so you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stacks. And then from each stack, draw number of tiles equal to the number of players in the game. Then each player chooses a color and places one of their discs on the starting space of this scoring track and one disc in the bottom space of each of these 4 diplomacy tracks. In addition, each player takes a player board, 1 additional disc as the neutral ship marker, then 1 action marker, and 5 level 1 ships of the corresponding color, which is marked by the outline of this icon. Then each player takes 2 random station hubs, and for the easier game, take the hubs marked with the letter B, which stands for basic. For more advanced game, you can also use these A hubs, which stands for advanced. For the advanced game, you can use all those station hubs. For the moment, keep both of these station hubs nearby. Players will now draft additional ships. First, start with the level 3 ships. Randomly draw 2 level 3 ships per player plus additional 1, so in a 3-player game that's 7. Randomly determine the starting player, and then the turn order is clockwise around the table. And now in this turn order, each player takes one of these ships and adds that ship to their portfolio. Once all players are done, do the same thing, but this time in the reverse player order. So the last player will pick the first one, then the second player, and then the first player. Return the remaining ship back to the box. Then repeat the exact same procedure with the level 2 ships, but this time first start in the reverse turn order and then in the standard turn order. Only now, considering the ships in your fleet and all the available sectors, choose one of the station hubs to keep and return the other back to the box. Now flip that station hub to the other side and take the starting resources. These are metal cubes, this is food, water, and these are gems. The orange one counts as 1 gem, the clear one counts for 5, and the purple counts for 20. You can find the full description of these starting bonuses on the reference card. In this example, this player will also advance 1 space on a diplomacy track, but since this is the start of the game, you don't gain any of these bonuses. And if you get any free level 1 sector, first flip the station hub to the other side and attach it to your player board. Then take one of the corresponding sectors and attach it to your station hub. I will describe how to build your station later in the video. Then the first player gains no additional gems, the second player gains 1 additional gem, the third player in a turn order would gain 2 additional gems, and the fourth player would gain 3 additional gems. In Space Station Phoenix, each player owns a small fleet of spaceships and tries to build the space station and populate it with these alien species and occasionally with humans. To do that, they will need to use their ships to perform various actions, to gather resources, and sometimes they will even dismantle those ships to get the precious metal. The metal is used to build these station sectors. The game starts with the randomly chosen first player and then continuing clockwise until the end of the game. On your turn, you must do one of these two following options. Either use a spaceship action or take income. When you take the spaceship action, take your action marker and place it on the chosen ship. It can be your own ship or even the opponent's ship, or potentially you can also use the neutral ships. Then pay the cost of that ship and then carry out the action. After that, you would check for any bonuses from your own space station and also from the diplomacy board. There are actually only 5 basic actions in the game that correspond to your basic ships. You will gain resources, you will trade those resources and exchange resources. You will have to dismantle your ships to get the precious metal. You will use this diplomacy action to move on the diplomacy board, and you will use the construction action to build your space station. With this action you will also gain the aliens, which you can use to populate your space station. When you choose the second option, you will take income, you will gain additional gems, you will make all your ships available again, and you will be able to reallocate aliens on your space station. The end of the game is triggered in 3 different ways. Either when one of the players reaches 40 victory points, the in-game victory points, or when there are only 4 or fewer aliens on this home planets board, excluding humans, or when any player builds all 9 sectors of their space station. Players will score victory points primarily from building the sectors of their space station, then for populating it with humans and aliens, then additional victory points for having the majority of a specific kind of the aliens. Then there are additional endgame bonuses like this one, and you can also score additional victory points for leftover resources. Then the player with the most points is the winner. In this section of the video I will cover the first option, using a ship action. First, choose a ship. Choose any unused ship, which means the ship doesn't have any gems on it. And it can be your own ship, or it can be a neutral ship. Again, any unused ship on the neutral ship board. Or you can even use opponent's ships. For example, the red player could use any of these unused ships of the yellow player. However, you must be able to take that action at least partially. You may not occupy a ship and then not perform the action. Then pay the cost of that ship. The first number is the cost which is placed on that ship, and if the ship is used by the opposing player, that player must pay the owner additional cost shown on the right side of that icon. So in this case it will be 2 gems to yellow player. Then carry out the action. I will cover all those actions in just a minute. If you use the neutral ship, simply pay the cost to that neutral ship. Then after you perform the action, let's say it was this one, only the active player may check for any bonuses from their space station. Those bonuses are color-coded so you can easily identify it and match it with the color of your action. And you can only take that bonus if you have a resident in the corresponding living quarters. In other words, if that space is already occupied by an alien or a human. The only exception is the station hub. Those bonuses are always active, you don't have to have any residents there. And by the way, these bonuses don't trigger additional bonuses. Only the ship action can trigger those bonuses. And then as the third step, after taking the action and taking the bonuses from your space station, check for the bonuses on the diplomacy track. These bonuses are only triggered by these 4 actions. And again, they're only triggered by the ship actions, not by the bonuses. And all players who have advanced at least 1 space on the corresponding track will get bonuses. If there's any solo leader, that player may take any bonus from the same space or any space below their current level. If there are co-leaders, those players may not take the bonus from the same level, but from any level below that. Any player who is not a leader or a co-leader may take any bonus from the spaces below their current level. And if any player has not advanced on the track at all, that player may not take any bonus. The top two spaces of each track show this symbol, which means you may take any two different bonuses from any level below. Again, if there would be a co-leader here, these players can only take one bonus from any level below, and if they both would be at the top level, they can take any bonus from these below their level, which means they can take this one, and that means they can take any two different bonuses from these. If you have the disc in the topmost space of any track, you may not advance any further. After that, after taking the action, checking the bonuses on your space station and bonuses from the diplomacy track, it's the end of your turn, and it's the next player's turn unless the end game has been triggered. I will now cover all the actions in the game, and let's start with this Dismantle action. With this action you have to choose any of your unused ships, so ships without any gems on it, and dismantle it, which means you may not dismantle itself. Even if you would use another opponent's ship with the dismantle action, you can still only dismantle one of your ships. When you do, remove the chosen ship from the game and gain metal equal to this value over here. So here it is 8 metal. These large cubes count as 5 metal cubes. And if you would use an action from level 2 or level 3 ships, that action would give you additional 1 or 2 metal cubes. With this construction action, you may build your space station. Choose an available sector from the display, pay the cost, which is the cost of metal cubes. Here it's 6 metal cubes, and add the sector to your space station. Again, level 2 or level 3 ships may provide discounts to this action. When you build your space station, each wing can only have sectors of one color, and each wing must have the sectors of a different color. So here it's brown, pink and blue or teal. You must build the level 1 sector first, only then you can build the level 2 sector and then the level 3. You may build these wings independently from each other, so one wing can be at level 1, the other one can be already completed. You don't have to finish level 1s before you start building level 2s and so on. If the sector you build has any immediate effect, which is marked by this icon, carry out the effect immediately. You don't have to have any residence there. With this Terran Expedition action, you will collect resources and potentially human from Earth. To do this, you will roll these dice, and the number of dice you roll is determined by this left number in the action, so here it's 6, and the number of dice you keep is determined by the number on the right. Here it's 4. So roll the dice and then take the items one by one. When you take water, food or metal, simply add that resource to your pool. When you take the die with the human icon, you can either take 1 point immediately, so that moves your marker on this scoring track, or instead you may spend food, water and metal, so 1 resource of each type. Then take 1 human from this area of the home planet's board and place it in any leftmost empty space in any sector of your ship. Remember, only occupied living stores provide bonuses. You may collect these items in any order you want, so if you would need another human and you would not have enough resources, you can first take a resource and then take the die with the human icon and pay the resources to get that human. Then, with this transport action, you may perform these transactions as many times as is this number on the action ship. Level 2 or level 3 ships provide higher number of these transactions. You can perform those transactions in any order you want, and you can even choose the same transaction more than once. And again, very briefly, with this first one you have to pay food and water, and as this small icon indicates, you can take 1 alien of one of these 3 kinds only. Again, you have to place that alien in any leftmost empty space, but this time only in one of the sectors of the same color. If you would place that alien on a space which provides any bonuses, these bonuses are not triggered. They will be only active on your next turn. With this second transaction, you have to pay food, water and gem, and this time you gain a gold alien, which acts like a wild type. So similar to humans, you can place it in any leftmost space in any sector of your space station, but still counts as an alien. With the third transaction, you can turn any two resources into another resource, and with the last one, you can buy resources. Then these two actions, this one and this one, are very similar. They are called farm and ice collectors, and they simply provide 5 food or 4 water into your own supply. And finally, the diplomacy action allows you to advance one space on any of these 4 diplomacy tracks. However, to advance to a space, you have to pay the cost indicated in that space. The action from the level 3 ship allows you to advance on 2 different tracks, and when you do, you have to pay the cost for both of those advancements. When you decide to use the neutral ship, which is one of these 5 ships on the neutral ship board, in addition to paying the cost, take your neutral ship marker, which is just another disk of your color, and place it on the chosen ship. That means you are not able to take an action of any other neutral ship until you take income, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about right now. So instead of taking a ship action on your turn, you may take income. However, you may only take the income if you have 7 or fewer gems in your supply, or even if you have more than 7 gems, if any of your ships has been already used, which means any of your ships has some gems on it, or third, which is very rare, if you are not able to take any action. That may potentially happen when all players have dismantled almost all their ships. So, when you take the income, return your action marker and your neutral ship marker back to your player board. The gems are returned back to the general supply. Then return all the gems from all your ships back to the general supply, which means they are now again available for use. Then take the income from these orange spaces on your station hub. This first one means that you take 1 gem for each of your remaining ships. So in this case it is 8 gems. And for example with this one, for each 2 purple aliens you gain 1 additional gem. Again, you can find the description of all these bonuses on the reference cards. And then take all the orange bonuses from your space station where you have residents in the corresponding living quarters. So here the yellow player would gain 1, 2, 3, 4 additional gems. However, these spaces are not occupied with the residents, so the yellow player doesn't get these bonuses. Finally, as the last step, the optional step, you may relocate residents on your space station. For each resident you relocate, you have to pay 1 gem. And if you relocate a resident and that creates a gap in the current sector, fill those gaps by sliding the other residents to the leftmost empty spaces. Obviously, when relocating the residents, when you place them, you have to follow the standard placement rules. At the end of the player's turn, check for the endgame trigger. That happens if the active player reached 40 or more victory points, and it has to be the active player, not any other player. It may happen that the active player has not reached 40 victory points yet, but by gaining various bonuses from the diplomacy track, other players may reach or exceed 40 victory points. In that case, the endgame has not been triggered yet. The end of the game is also triggered when any player completes all 9 sectors of their space station, or the third option if there are 4 or fewer aliens in the supply, not humans, aliens. So if any of those conditions are met, the active player finished the game, all other players gain 1 additional turn, not the player who triggered the end of the game, and then the game is over. After that, proceed to final scoring. First, score the sectors of your space station. For each level 3 sector, you score 10 victory points. For each level 2, you score 6 victory points and 4 victory points for each level 1 sector. Then you score 2 victory points for each resident on your space station. So for each alien, for each gold alien, and also for each human. Then score the majority of each kind of alien. So for example, the player with most pink aliens on their space station scores 10 victory points. The player with the second most number of pink aliens in their space station scores 5 victory points. In case of a tie, when 2 or more players have the same highest number of aliens of a given type, add 10 and 5 victory points together, that's 15, and divide between the winning players, rounded down. So if there are 2 players with the highest number, they both score 7 victory points. There is no scoring for the third place. If there are players tied for the second highest number, divide 5 victory points evenly between those players, again rounded down. Do this for all 5 kinds of the residents in the game, so all 3 alien species, the gold alien species, and also the humans. Then score additional endgame victory points from the bonuses from your station hub and also from any bonuses in your sectors. But remember, those bonus spaces have to be occupied by the residents. And finally, for any leftover resources and gems, you score victory points. For any 5 resources, you gain 1 victory point. And also for any remaining 20 gems, you gain 1 victory point. It's all rounded down. Then the player with the most points is the winner. So that's how you play Space Station Phoenix. If you would have any questions or comments, please put them into the comment sections below. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If you like the series, please subscribe. You can even support the channel by clicking the thank you button under the video, or you can support the Patreon program of the Nithrania YouTube channel. You've been watching Game in a Nutshell. My name is Branislav Berec and hope to see you next time. I would like to thank everyone who has ever supported the channel, and especially the current supporters listed on this page. If you too would like to support the channel in creation of videos like this and other video tutorials and other content on this channel, please visit the patreon.com/Nithrania.